For one day, and I get to pick the day, but one day only, of all the Major League Baseball players I would want to be, of course, I could say there's a lot.
How about Aaron Judge?
I was going to say Aaron Judge did hit 3 in one game and 4 over the weekend. I could say that. But no, I will say, of all the players, I cannot imagine, and I've tried to, what it would be like to have been Cameron Meisner on opening day when you get a chance to, first of all, be on the opening day roster due to some injuries and things like that. But then you come into the game and your first at bat, you hit a walk-off home run on the first pitch you see on opening day to win in a walk-off. Something that, Steve, has never been done before.
No one has ever hit their first career home run as a walk-off on opening day.
That's insane. And, I mean, of course, all those things have to line up, so maybe it's not that insane, but consider how many baseball games we're talking about and how many opening days throughout, the 100 and something years of baseball. I mean, that is a phenomenal. And I'm just, there had to be, and you could tell the heart was pounding pretty good there, even after the crossed home plate and the interviews and all that. But there had to be sort of a Roy Hobbs feeling to it. You know what I mean? Where you're kind of gliding around the bases and maybe the lights weren't exploding, but in your head you're going, what did I just do? How could this have happened? How could I have gone up here, saw one pitch and ripped it for a home run with my family there? What a great, that's what they say, right? You go to the ballpark, you see something you've never seen before. Literally, no one had ever seen that before.
Well, and just think, if that was at Tropicana Field, I don't think that ball goes out.
Probably not. Probably not. Although it had to cut through some wind. It's funny.
It did. But
it was
the short
interesting.
Right field porch.
Yeah, it was very short. But it was interesting listening to over the weekend just the various games and how suddenly outdoor baseball is being rediscovered in Tampa. It's like, yeah, the wind's blowing out. Now it's blowing in. Now, but they've not had to deal with that at home, obviously. But you go on the road and deal with it every time you play. But some of the commentary was pretty funny. It was like they've discovered what outdoor baseball is in Tampa. And yeah, it can get windy in the spring. Some of the rawest days are in the early spring. We're kind of getting through it towards the late spring now. But what'd you think? I mean, aesthetically, like on TV, it looks like a smaller ballpark. Clearly, it's not a major league ballpark. I wasn't there, so I couldn't tell you. Apparently, people said it was pretty loud. And it was very pro-Ray, obviously, over the weekend because they were playing the Rockies. There's probably not very many Colorado fans all the way here in Tampa Bay. But good reviews all the way around. They won the series 2-1. Actually, the game they got about 12 or 14 hits. They couldn't score a run.
You talk about putting on a clinic defensively. The Rockies did that.
Oh, it was incredible. Yeah, they threw the leather at them, man. They were getting out of jam after jam. And it was kind of the opposite, on Sunday where I don't think they hit a ball out of the infield and may have scored 4 runs, but and the Rockies didn't help themselves with the gloves that day. But yeah, it was a nice opening weekend. I'm still not sure how I feel about this team. You can't really figure that out in 3 days or 3 games against a team like the Rockies. I'll say this: the starting pitching played pretty well. Every guy went into the 6 innings at least, and the bullpen did well. I mean, you had Pete Fairbanks picking up a win and a save. A little shaky in the first one with control and whatnot, but he got out of it. So far so good. I mean, we're going to feel our way through this season a little bit. I like the energy of the crowd. I think the players, as I expected them to be, I think they're a little energized by their surroundings. They're still not used to it. You heard Kevin Cash talk about, there are things that we have to get used to still, but they will. And I think baseball is going to be fun for a season in this ballpark, which is extremely intimate. I'll say this: if you get a ticket to the game, there legitimately is not a bad seat in the house because there's no third deck out here, right? Like you're on top of the action. And I think the players probably enjoy that, And as long as it's full, aesthetically, it looks full, it sounds full.
Yep.
I didn't get to go, but I liked what I saw. It was kind of what I expected, that there would be a freshness to it, and that the fans would enjoy it.
No doubt about it. And it was weird too watching some of the television broadcasts. So they're doing the post game show, and it's Rich Hollenberg and Doug Wechter, and they're on the field doing it, which seemed a little weird because they're always
It looked weird.
The stands at Tropicana Field. It's just not what you're used to.
I know.
But there's not a lot of room in the stadium to set up TV sets. They need all the room for everything else.
That's right.
So it's just just all the different things you don't think about going into the season that they have to adjust for and do differently. Not just the players and the team, but the broadcast and all that. So,
how about fireworks after the game? How about that? How about the flyover? I mean,
yeah, you can actually do that. I mean,
yeah, it's neat stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And now tonight, it's a new one.
That's
they
right.
have to play their first game under the lights.
That's going to be interesting because, and I don't know this. I don't know the answer to this. Obviously, they play spring training games there, and they do play, I think, at night on occasion. But the power of the lights in a major league ballpark are probably second to none. I mean, it's like daytime. When you go to these stadiums. I don't know that they'll have that power and the height of the poles. Like, there's so much to get used to.
It's funny you say that. It's funny you say that. So I work some spring training games every year, and I worked them for the Pirates.
Yeah,
who were trained in Bradenton, but I help them out with some of their broadcasts. I don't do them all, but I do a handful every year. And so I was doing a game at Steinbrenner Field for the Pirates. It was a night game.
Yep.
And a couple players had a little issues with some fly balls.
Mm-hmm.
And Matt Capps, who's one of the announcers for the Pirates, was on the call that night, and he's a former major leaguer.
Yeah.
And he said he wondered how the lights were going to play at this stadium because, the big league lights have probably more lights than what these Florida complex leagues have.
Sure, certainly they do. Yeah.
And so players adjusting to this, and there could be some issues or changes. I mean, granted, at Tropicana Field, you have to adjust for the roof.
Oh yeah,
and,
no question.
And visiting players would have issues with that at times,
right?
And new Rays players sometimes, early in the season would. But it's going to be interesting if it changes or affects things. I don't know what the lights are like there. I don't know how it compares to a stadium, any other outdoor stadium per se. But
yeah,
it may be something to watch, particularly in these early games, is to see if outfielders have issues with pop flies or trying to track it, find it. Because it may not be as much. I don't know if it isn't, but I don't think it's lit up like Yankee Stadium would be per se.
I don't think it would be. And the other part I thought about, and I don't know the answer to this either, is I mentioned the height of when you're talking about a major league stadium, which typically has 3 decks, right? In most ballparks, then a lot of times some of the lights behind home plate are fastened on that upper deck or above that upper deck. So you don't have that. So again, I don't know, what the height of these bank of lights are. There's certainly, they're grouped differently, and it's not horizontal. It's sort of like banks of lights on poles, which is different because there's gaps in between. So yeah, it just, it's going to be one more thing, and I'm sure we'll get a review from the outfielders when they play their first game there. But you're right. I mean, listen, any team that would have to come to the Trop and put up with those ridiculous catwalks and the sort of white tartan roof there that looks almost the same color as a baseball, I can't imagine how difficult that must be when the first time you have a fly ball hit your way. So those guys have to make probably an even bigger adjustment to that. But yeah, it's just one more thing, and the hitter has to be able to see, and what is it up to major league standards? I don't know. It's going to be something to watch. But you're going to, obviously going to have some night games, and it was good to, the weekend series was in the afternoon, and that's fine. They're going to have to win series. They're going to have to start out fast because they have a lot of home games in the beginning, and then they go on the road for a good part of the summer when it gets to be hotter here. But this team, to me, you can't really tell anything in 3 games necessarily. But they're going to, and Brandon Lau had a home run on Sunday. They're going to need certain guys. The sad thing for the weekend, though, was Josh Lowe. I mean, Josh Lowe had a great spring. I believe he had 2 hits in the opener, and on one of them is when he, had that strain again. That's going to keep him out for a while, maybe even longer than the last time. Um, and that's just that's a crushing loss because it's a left-handed bat. What he did 2 years ago, if he duplicated that in that short right field porch, he was going to have an outstanding year, a big year. And so, that might have been why Cameron Meisner was in the game, but you just, you feel for the guy because he had such a good spring. And then all of a sudden he tweaks a similar injury that seems to be a little more severe than the last one. So that was the bad part of the weekend for the Rays.
Well, and it's just the one thing you kept saying about this team, we don't know if they can hit enough.
No.
Like, we know they have good pitching.
Yeah.
And even if they have sustained injuries there, they seem to find ways.
That's right.
To replenish the pitching staff, whether it's finding guys from other teams that they tweak something and all of a sudden they become much better, or they're developing in the minors, etc. The hitting has always been the issue. And one of the advantages you have at playing in Steinbrenner Field is that short right field porch. So the left-handed bats are so important.
That's right.
And now one of the guys you're banking on having a better season than last year because you didn't upgrade a ton on the offense.
Mm-hmm.
You're hoping that guys like Christopher Morel get better, and that Brandon Lau stays healthy to hit home runs, and that Josh Lowe stays healthy so that he can perform like he did 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And now opening day he gets hurt, and it's disappointing, and now other guys are going to have to step up, but that's tough on him.
Crushing for him, and they didn't score a lot of runs, this weekend. They was it 3-2, and I think on Sunday they scored 4. So it wasn't like they came out on fire hitting them, not like the New York Yankees with the torpedo bats. Have you seen these things?
I did. It seems so obvious.
It is obvious. Why hasn't it happened until now?
Right. So the Yankees, and they hired apparently an MIT scientist to help them, a physicist, with this.
Sure.
And it's basically there's more wood at the label on the bat, which is where most of the hits come from, so that there's more you can barrel up. And boy, did they barrel them up this weekend.
Oh, my God. How many home runs they hit? 12 or 14 in a 3-game series?
Well, they hit 9 on Saturday. So
9.
Including 3 by Aaron Judge.
9.
And that was off their former teammate, Nestor Cortez. Or he was the starter. He didn't give up all 9 home runs. But.
Right. He started the hit parade. Aaron Judge is unbelievable, by the way.
I joke we had a baseball tournament this weekend, so my kid plays travel ball 9U.
Yep.
And I said, next weekend there's going to be stands at all these tournaments. Hype Fire torpedo bats, $600 each.
Exactly. How soon before Rod Manfred and Major League Baseball bans these things?
They said there's nothing illegal about them. They
really?
had a statement on Sunday. They were asked.
Okay.
And I saw another player, someone from the Twins was using it today.
Yeah.
On Sunday.
Do they have one of these things? They used to do this when I was playing youth ball. We'd go to a tournament, and they would check the bats. Of course, we had aluminum bats for the most part, although I did use a wood bat. I'm that old before. But they would have a stencil, almost like a circular thing that it'd have to slip completely over the bat, for it to be legal. We use things like, aluminum bats, obviously. They came out with these things called the Big Barrel. And it was a similar concept where, the bat has a skinny handle and then it widens around the label or just above until a big barrel where you feel like you're hitting it with a tennis racket after a while. I thought that was cheating, but yeah, to do it at the major league level and look, apparently it works. And so, heck, man, if Major League Baseball says they're legal, and they are, then every team in the big leagues is going to be ordering these things as fast as they can get them, I would imagine, because that was not a coincidence to me that they broke these out and hit as many home runs as they did over the weekend. Now, Judge could hit them, with a pencil sometimes, but the rest of it was clearly something was up, right, where they were making loud contact often, and the ball was flying out of there. That was crazy what the Yankees did over the weekend.
Yeah, and like I said, it just seems so obvious. It's like, why hasn't this been done before?
I know. right? They do it, like I said, they've had the big barrels forever in youth sports and in college and whatnot, and yeah, it makes sense. You want a skinnier handle so you can whip the barrel out, and the quicker
Yeah. I
or
mean,
the more
like I said, I don't know who made that bat,
right.
but every bat company is now making those.
Well, they have to. They have to now. I mean, that's the success. You know, the one thing. Remember, the big in my lifetime, as far as wood bats go, one of the bigger inventions was the hollowed out top of the bat, right, where they could hollow out
Mm-hmm.
the head of it, and therefore, by doing so, you could actually reduce the number of ounces in the bat. Instead of swinging a 34-ounce bat, that's 34, 35 inches. They haul out the top of it where you don't want to hit the ball anyway, and that would make the bat maybe 33 ounces, right, or
Mm-hmm.
32. And so you had quicker bat speed because it wasn't as heavy. The idea being that you don't want to cue one off the edge anyway. So that's kind of only been the biggest sort of in innovation
Well, that
since.
was so you could put cork in the bat, right?
Well, yeah, they could do that too. Sammy Sosa did. Still, the funniest thing I've ever seen was Sammy Sosa playing against the Rays, no less, right? When he smashed one, and what was it? A bunch of tennis balls came flying out of it.
I
You
didn't
remember
realize that was
that?
against the Rays.
It was against the Rays. I promise you, it
I mean, that was
was.
before I was living here, so I wouldn't. I guess I didn't.
They
I
were
mean, I remember
playing in
I remember when it
Chicago.
happened, but
Yeah,
I didn't know it was the Rays.
I would swear that it was. I would bet your mortgage on it, but it was. Yeah, it was against the Rays. They were playing in Chicago, which the Rays would rarely do. Obviously, a National League team. I have to believe that that's the case. I have too vivid of a memory of that. But yeah, and
It was.
the,
It was against the Devil Rays.
the tennis balls just kind of dribble out there. Oh my god! Not that he cheated any other way. I assure you, baseball been very very good to me. Him and Mark McGuire that year, incredible. But yeah, I mean, I guess that's one reason to hollow out the bat for sure. You could stuff tennis balls in it, but no, that's been the biggest thing. And obviously, the some guys prefer a thin handle or some a little thicker. Very few Nellie Foxes out there. If you remember the name Nellie Fox, he used to have a model of a Louisville Slugger that had this giant handle that was like holding the end of a of a cue stick, if you will. But yeah, so this is going to be fun. This is going to be interesting. Of course, I'm always suspicious, since Major League Baseball kind of is in charge of the baseballs. Like, what are they this year? Are they going to be wound tighter? Are they going to be a little livelier? Are we looking for the home runs? What are we doing? So that's always something to look out for as well. But yeah, man, I'm running out and I'm getting one of those torpedo bats. I have to have one. I have to see if that sort of extended barrel or more wood on the barrel area, on the label area. They used to tell you not to hit it off the label because you very often you'd crack the bat that way. You wanted it just above the label, but yeah, if you got that going for you, man, I mean, holy cow, did the Yankees just absolutely annihilate the baseball over the weekend? But all in all, pretty fun start for the Rays, and like I said, the starting pitching was good. I thought every guy made a good accounting for himself and going 6 innings, and the bullpen looks solid. I think that's going to be a strength of their team as well. But again, do you score runs? Can you score runs? Can you score a lot of runs? Are you going to hit a lot of home runs? Who's going to hit them without Josh Lowe in the lineup? I thought Aranda has some pretty good power. He looked good in a few at bats that I saw. And you got to wait
Brendan
for
Lau had a home run.
Brendan Lau crushed one, yeah, right center field. That was good to see. He hit some balls hard. Yandy Diaz smoked some balls the first 2 games, didn't have anything to show for it. But he was swinging a good bat early. So yeah, and these young kids, it's just what a great story to see this kid out of the University of Missouri do what he did, and bouncing last year from Double A Montgomery and Triple A, and then the Rays to be 0 for 14, in the major leagues with 10 strikeouts before he got his first base hit in his final at bat, I guess last year, before being sent back to Durham, and then to come up and do that. That was just it's one of the one of the best stories I've seen. Really fun story. Cowboy, kind of a soft-spoken guy, but wears the boots and the hat and the whole bit. Just to see his family there. I can't. That's Roy Hobbs stuff, man. That's goosebump stuff. And I think all the guys, you saw the reaction from the bench. The guys just flying out of the dugout, just so.
Is anyone
so
happier
electric.
than Junior Caminero?
No. What energy he brings, huh? Yeah, that was great.
I mean, yeah, I think he might have been more excited than Meisner.
He was. That's the first guy I saw. I was like, well, what? Forget about the guy that hit the home run. We're just going to watch Caminero come down the first base line, jumping up and down like a beanpole. That was a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to getting back. I'm looking forward to getting out there. I want to see what Steinbrenner is all about. I want to see what the crowd is like, what it sounds like. You can only tell so much on TV or radio. But yeah, it was exciting, very exciting. And the Tampa Bay Lightning had an exciting win themselves. They seem to be rolling now in second place in their division.
They are. They're a point behind Toronto, though Toronto's playing actually as we record this. So they're finishing up their California trip tonight.
Okay.
But they've passed the Panthers, who lost to the Canadiens. They're actually tied with the Panthers, but Lightning on the tiebreaker. So
okay.
The Lightning's magic number to clinch a playoff spot is 4. So without anybody else losing, if the Lightning win their next 2 games, they've clinched a playoff spot.
I feel good about that. I think they're going to do that.
Yeah, they have 9 games to go. I think they're okay.
Yeah,
I think they're going to be honest, they don't have to win another game, and as long as those teams that are hovering around 500 all lose 2, then they're in anyway. So,
yep. And there was a milestone over the weekend too with a 1,000th game. Can you imagine playing 1,000 games in the NHL?
Yeah, Ryan McDonough hit that Thursday night. They honored him Saturday with the ceremony.
Yeah, Saturday was the ceremony.
Which is always really cool.
Yeah. Yeah,
there's been a lot of ceremonies at Hamilton.
I know, guys coming back, guys hitting milestones, goals, and games played, and all of that. Points.
Yeah, by the way, Kucherov tied for the lead in points in the NHL now.
Okay, let me ask you a question, because it seems like people have already picked their MVP, and I've sort of looked at the betting lines a little bit here.
Mm-hmm.
What's it going to take for him to win another one? I mean,
I think he'd have to win the scoring title.
Okay.
The Lightning finish in first in the division. That helps.
That would help. Okay.
And they're right there.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's necessary, but winning the scoring title for him, probably.
Okay.
But he and McKinnon are tied at 109 points. And Kucherov has done it in less games because he's missed a few games.
Well, and the way Kucherov does it is not necessarily with goals, as it is goals and assists, so...
Well, it's mostly. I mean, he passed up an empty net goal, and
I saw that. He's unselfish.
Sometimes it's okay to be a little selfish.
I know. Just
clinch the game. Clinch the game. Go get the goal.
Do that. But what's he got? Like 34, 35 goals, something like that this year?
Yeah, 33, something in that range.
Yeah, and I mean, if he wanted to, and he just was focused keenly on not distributing everything to his teammates. Mm-hmm. I think he could score 60 a year if he did that. But as it is, he may get 40 or close to it.
Yep.
But the number of points, his consistency as far as points every year is off the chain. He's been such a good player.
The hard part about Cooch is that, like, you watch a Nathan McKinnon or a Connor McDavid,
mm-hmm.
like, they just wow you.
Yes. They're
with
flashy.
Their pure speed and the way they take the puck because they're a center, and
through the middle of the ice,
they're bigger. They're bigger players too, and they just, when you watch them, you're wowed.
Yes,
Cooch, you have to almost go back and watch a replay and go, "Oh my god, what did he just do?"
It's subtle, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, so much of the stuff you see live, and you're like, "Okay, that was good," and then you go back and watch it, and you're like, "Oh my goodness, that was spectacular."
Right.
Like, he wows you differently.
Mm-hmm.
But what I always, and he may never win another MVP, and who knows, he might could this year, may not, who knows. But when you ask players around the league
mm-hmm.
who they like to watch, so many of them say Kucherov.
Yeah,
because he does things nobody else does, and he does it differently,
and not from the center position, right?
Right. I mean, like McDavid and Sidney Crosby and McKinnon, and I mean, they're spectacular players. Austin Matthews. spectacular players.
Oh yeah.
And deserving of all the accolades they get. And you watch them and you go, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Cooch, it's so different because it's really from a distribution standpoint.
Right.
And he's not necessarily looking to score goals. Sometimes you wish he'd shoot a little more often, but
yeah.
He's just and he never looks like he's going full speed.
No, the game looks slow. It looks like he slows it down before he makes a reaction. He's also not the puck is not on his stick the whole time, right? Like it is with those other guys. So those other guys, and they're phenomenal because it feels like the puck is attached to their stick, if you will, the way they handle it. But yeah, Cooch is more sudden, but also, yeah, everything kind of slow. Like you watch him, he's never seems to be in a hurry. He always seems to pick the right spot. Wherever the shot is, if it's the top shelf, on the short side, or if it's a 5-hole, like he finds it, right? Like he sets it up and he finds it. But just the passes he makes and his vision and how guys are always expecting the puck from him. You know what I mean? Like they've come now to understand that he will find you. You better be ready. It's just amazing to watch. He's such a technician out there that it's just fun to watch.
Well, he had 11 points on this 3-game homestand.
Not bad, right?
And it's, shouldn't be dismissed that they put the Point Gensel Cooch line back together.
Yes.
And they're scoring a lot.
Gensel's had a hell of a year, hasn't he? Wasn't that a great acquisition?
That he is, he's leading the team in goals now.
Yes, he is.
He passed Braden Point, and he's got 38, I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
But he's such a smart player.
Right.
Like he's always in the right spot. He's always making good plays. Like, and you don't always notice him the whole time.
I was going to say, he's another guy that is kind of like, blends in. He's a bit of a chameleon out there until he scores. And you're like, oh, that was Gensel,
Yeah, no, it's been great. And look, the acquisitions of Gordon Bjorkstrand have really allowed them to create a third line now.
Yes.
They've really kind of set it up now to where they put the top line back together.
Mm-hmm.
And you get Sorelli, Hagel, and Paul. And then you've got Gord, Bjorkstrand, and Gonsalves. And those are your top 3 lines now. And I thought when they acquired Bjorkstrand, he was going to be with Sorelli and Hagel, but it's actually Paul's done well there, and the Gordon Bjorkstrand combo's been good. I still think Bjorkstrand's still adjusting to Tampa Bay and the system and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't think he looks 100% comfortable out there yet. But I think playing with Gord has helped that because they played together on lines in Seattle together. So, it's in the playoffs. You got to have that third line that can give you some production. It can't just be 2 lines at the top.
Right.
And, the Lightning seem to have found that. And then defensively, they've been so much better this year. Ryan McDonough. It all starts with him. Like, that's what they've missed the last 2 years.
That's what's changed them, I think, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think as a shutdown defenseman, which he is, he's tied for second in the NHL in plus-minus. Not that plus-minus is the ultimate judgment, but when you're that far advanced of everybody, in his career, he's never been a negative plus-minus in a season.
Not one season? Wow.
Nope.
Yeah, if you're playing defense, that's what matters, right?
You could make the argument he's the MVP of the team this season. Well, he doesn't have the numbers and stuff, but it's just the way they're a top 5 defensive team or 6 or 7 in goals against, something like that.
Yeah.
Like every metric that this team has says they should probably have a better record than they do. They're top 5 or 6 power play, top 5 or 6 penalty kill. They're second in goals per game and top 5 or 6 goals against per game. Like that's every metric you want.
Vasi, I think, has the most shutouts in the NHL this year.
Yeah, he's up there. He's got 6 this year?
I think he's got 6, yeah.
Yep. Johansson played on Saturday. I thought he was spectacular.
He was really good, yeah.
I know they gave up 3 goals in the third, but he was fantastic. To be honest, that game Saturday, Lightning did not play that well. They got 3 goals in the first.
They got off to a quick lead, yeah.
Yeah, they got, but they were not playing the defensive hockey that they had played the 2 previous games at home.
Right.
They were just they scored early and then were able to kind of hold on.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes you have to be able to do that in a game.
Yeah, you just got to find a way to finish, and they did that. And I still think they're playing, really good hockey at the right
Mhm.
time. It's about how well you're playing, and their goaltender's been
Yep.
back to his usual self, if not then some. So he's not
Well,
going to have many more days off.
we're
I think
2.5 weeks from the end of the regular season.
it's
So
incredible. Yeah, we're just about at the postseason. So it's
the
all kind
playoffs
of
will start in less than 3 weeks.
that's crazy. That's crazy. Lots going on with the Rays, the Lightning, of course, and the NFL owners' meetings, which we'll talk about here in just a second. I'll be at those. But first, hey, get on by Breitling Boutique at International Plaza Mall. If you haven't been there, you should try because it's one of the great Swiss watchmakers of all time. The Breitling Company been putting out these great watches and timepieces now for over 140 something years. They've been at International Plaza for 5+ years. And if you go in there, it's in the center of the mall upstairs, terrific store. You're going to love the customer service. They've got watches for men, for women. Of course, they're known for the Navatimers and the Chronomat watches. Also have women's watches as well. Right now, they, really since before Christmas, they've had the limited edition of the NFL's 104th year anniversary, all 32 team watches, right? Specially made these Chronomat watches for the team while supplies last. Each with the color of the the team's colors as the face of the Chronomat watch, the logos. These things are absolutely beautiful. Go on TampaBay.com. You'll probably see an ad with Tampa Bay's the Buccaneers watch on there. But they've also, as I mentioned, they have women's watches, sports watches for her, for your wife, for your girlfriend. If you're on the go like my wife is, these things are durable. They're absolutely stunningly beautiful. And they have all the different colors of wristbands for her as well. Please get on down to Breitling Boutique at International Plaza Mall. You're going to love the store. You're going to love the experience. Spend some time there. Go in, have a drink. They'll take you through all their products, and you will walk out of there with a timepiece that you can be proud of. It's Breitling Boutique, International Plaza Mall, and make sure you let them know that you heard about it on Sports Day Tampa Bay. All right, I'm going to be down in Palm Beach, Florida at the Breakers Hotel. Oh, how I wish I was staying there, but that's another story. It's $1,400 a night. I won't be. However, the owners are staying there, and they've got their meetings, of course, and lots to decide with respect to some proposals for rule changes or additions. We're going to have a chance today, as a matter of fact, to talk to Jason Light. Also, tomorrow it would be breakfast with the NFC coaches, Todd Bowles, on Tuesday, that is. And then also a chance maybe to hook up with Joel Glazer later in the afternoon on Tuesday. So lots going on. Always a good time down there in Palm Beach at the Breakers Hotel. Of course, we're going to talk a lot of free agency that they've just completed. Now it's sort of turned to the NFL draft, which is, I don't know, some 20-something days away, believe it or not. That's coming up before you know it. So the Bucs' needs, of course, are mostly on defense, but that doesn't preclude them from taking an offensive player first. So it'll be interesting to get Todd Bowles' take. They've started some of the 30 visits that they get from those prospective draft picks. So that'll be fun, and just kind of get his feel for where the football team is right now after free agency and what they still feel like they have left to do. So a chance to have the NFC breakfast. The AFC breakfast was going to be on Monday, the NFC breakfast on Tuesday, and then we'll have a chance to talk to the owners and the GM as well. So looking forward to that. There are some rule changes, and I think if you think about last year, Steve, what was the one thing that the Bucs wish they could have had? There certainly was one game that they would like to finish a different way, and that would be the Chiefs on Monday Night Football. Remember, they score late to tie the game. It goes into overtime, and then what happens? A coin toss, right? And remember Baker Mayfield throwing his head back when they lost the coin toss because he knew that Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs may not give the ball back to them, and they didn't. And in fact, that has happened with too much regular occurrence throughout the regular season. Last year, if you won the coin toss, you had a 75% chance of winning the game. And so there are rule proposals that are now in place that they would like to see them go to what is, I guess, the rule during the postseason where both teams must possess the ball at least once. I think that's a great rule, Steve. I know they don't want these games to go forever and there's always a risk of injury and things like that. But man, 75% win rate on a coin toss seems pretty lopsided.
It does. I wonder. So it's a 10-minute overtime period?
Yeah, 10 minutes. Mm-hmm.
What if you take a 9-minute and 45-second drive?
Well, that's on you. If that defense can't get off the field in 9 minutes and 45 seconds,
or what if it takes all 10 minutes and they kick a field goal, they whatever? Like, does the other team still get a possession?
That's a great question. I'm not sure I know the answer to that, but I think it says both teams must possess the football.
Right. It's rare to have a drive that long, but it's possible.
Yeah, I guess it's possible. Sure.
I mean, we've seen drives like that in football history.
Yeah. But those are all things that we'll be asking. I wish I had the answer for you, but I don't.
Well, they may not have it yet. That may be still what they're trying to develop or figure out. So
yeah, I don't know how the proposal actually reads. I just know that the Bucs are going to be for that. I think a lot of teams will be for that. I mean, there's just so much at stake, right? Like you think, well, if we get overtime, we don't want to play, necessarily the full 10 minutes, and we'd like to end this thing as quickly as possible. We don't want to go to the college system where you put the ball at the 20 because that's not really football. So let's play this thing out. And they do, obviously in the postseason, you have to have a winner, and they don't think it's fair unless both teams possess the ball. So now they're going to transfer that to the regular season. I think it's the right thing to do because, man, one game can certainly change the fortunes of a team, whether they make the playoffs, don't make the playoffs, what seed they are. There's just so much at stake that it just makes sense to me that you go ahead and do that. Another thing, the Packers.
I still think if you were the Bucs in that situation against the Chiefs, you should have went for two.
You should have gone for two.
If you lost it,
knowing,
fine.
Yeah,
but
absolutely. Knowing
you were
that
on the road, you had Patrick Mahomes. Your defense had been on the field a lot.
That's right.
Like, don't leave it in their hands.
You were fortunate to score late in the game and had momentum, right?
Yep.
So no, I don't think anybody second guesses you right there if you go for two and don't get it. I really don't. It's like, hey, we're on the road. We've spent every ounce of energy to come back and at least tie the game or have a chance to win with one play. I've always said this, like, before you got on the plane to go to Kansas City, and I think you have to think this way, and I think that Dan Campbell thinks this way. I think, probably a lot of coaches do now, Andy Reid and others. But I think if you told me that we're going to play 60 minutes or 60 plus minutes, whatever, and I've got to score from 2 yards out to win the game, right? I need a 2-yard play, one play, and I'm getting on the plane a victor. But if you told me that before I got on the plane in Tampa to go to Kansas City, I'm taking that every time, saying, absolutely, sign me up right now. Oh, wait, now, if you don't get it from 2 yards, the game is over. Fine. I'm going, man. 2-yard play to win? Yes. I'll be fortunate to feel myself in that situation. And yet, they get to that situation, and it's like, let's play it safe. Let's just kick the extra point and go to overtime. Just doesn't make any sense, man, that you would ever do that, especially against a defending world champion on the road, no less, right? You're playing at Arrowhead. So I thought that was a mistake. Said it at the time. It turned out to be the wrong decision. Another rules proposal, and this one was by the Packers, is to eliminate the tush push. And Todd Bowles has told us at the NFL Combine, he goes, I'm against eliminating. I don't think it's fair that because a team is really good at something that you say they can't do it anymore.
Yeah, I'm kind of in that boat, but at the same time, it's just an awful play to watch.
I'll say this. It's not a great play to watch. They have perfected it. Actually, them and the Bills, I think the Buffalo Bills have done a nice job with Josh Allen doing it too. So those two teams have had the most success, often imitated, not perfected the way they have. Here's what I have a problem with. It doesn't feel like a football play. A quarterback sneak where the quarterback takes the ball from the center, or anybody for that matter, and burrows straight ahead, great. When you start putting players behind the quarterback or behind the ball carrier and to able to physically push him across the goal line, that's where I have a problem. I don't think that's football. That's rugby to me.
Well, there used to be rules that you couldn't push.
Yeah. And then,
it wasn't necessarily like four guys behind the quarterback trying to all push at the same time, but like, when what? Reggie Bush pushed Matt Leinart in the end zone?
Matt Leinart.
I mean, that was technically illegal at the time.
It was in college football.
They didn't call it, but...
Yeah.
So it's not like that there hasn't been a rule in the past that says that was illegal.
No, you're right. You used to not be able to do it. Now they're letting them do it, and I think at minimum you can run the tush push, but we're going to take the push out of the tush or something like that. It doesn't make any sense. To me, it feels like a rugby play, and I think the defense is at a disadvantage, which I'm not that tore up about. Yes, Philadelphia does it really well. You know who stops them as well as anybody? The Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Mm-hmm.
They've had as much success stopping that play as there is anyone. But to have Saquon Barkley behind Jalen Hurts and so on, that's an unstoppable play in many regards. But Todd Bowles, really doesn't think they should outlaw it just because he feels like one team has kind of gotten over and perfected it, and you're kind of.
But it also helps when you have Vita Vea and Kalijah Cansey there to clog things up in the middle.
It does. Yes, that's been a big key. Another thing that they're going to be talking about is the kickoff. They want to modify that just a little bit. They try to encourage more kickoffs, and there were 332 more kickoffs returned in 2024. Obviously, there were more touchdowns, but also fewer injuries, and that was really the whole reason for changing the kickoff rule, was to reduce concussions and stuff like that. The previous kickoff rules, they had twice as many injuries than they did for a regular run or pass play, and up to 4 times the rate of concussions. So that part of it has been successful, but they still feel like there could be more incentive to return the football. The first year, if there was a touchback, it went to the 30. That wasn't quite punitive enough. So now, the average touchback was around the 28-yard line. Now they're going to move the ball to the 35-yard line if it's a touchback. So, again, trying to get more exciting special teams plays into the game, get the kickoff back into the game. And so moving it to the 30 to 35, I would have done even more, Steve. I'd have moved it to the 40. I'd have said, you want these guys to return balls? Because even to me, the 35, it's like, if I have a good defense, yeah, it's not ideal, but it's like 1 first down, right? I would say it's balls going to the 40, but at least that's progress to the 35. So I expect that one to probably pass without much fanfare. But there's a number of things, including a proposal that they allow sort of the quick replay review, if you will, of obvious penalties, such as the face mask penalty. Remember last year, the referees missed an obvious face mask penalty. Bucky Irving was grabbed in the October 3rd overtime loss at Atlanta. He ran for 7 yards late in the fourth quarter. There was definitely a face mask on that play. It was not called. However, what was called on that very play was a holding call, and that took them out of field goal range, and they ended up having the punt, and that allowed Kirk Cousins to rally the Falcons to a win. So I think something that's obvious, and I could talk about holding and things like that, but like grabbing the face mask, if something everybody sees, they're going to try to enhance that with some, quick instant replay help that they get on certain calls. I think that's probably a smart thing to do. All right, we'll talk more about college basketball. A lot coming on this week. Of course, the women's Final Four is in Tampa. The men's Final Four all went chalk. Florida Gators, they are headed to the Final Four again, which is an absolutely sensational season by them.
Only the second time ever that gone chalk for the Final Four.
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
Yeah, 2008 was the last one. Kansas won that one, beat Memphis in the final. UCLA and UNC made it as the other 4.
John Calipari's Memphis team, as I recall, right?
That's correct. Yeah, they had like a 9-point lead with like just over 2 minutes to go and couldn't make free throws down the stretch, and Kansas won it.
They're a very disappointing loss for the Memphis Tigers at the time. But, yeah, so it's going to be an interesting Final Four. We'll get more into that, more into the women's Final Four as well, that I will be actually helping Joey Knight cover next week, which will be fun. I'll be down in Palm Beach to cover the owners' meeting. Check out the Tampa Bay Times and TampaBay.com. The Rays began a series at home, their new home at Steinbrenner Field, against the Pittsburgh Pirates, who did not get off to such a great start in their opening series. But it'll be Rays and Pirates coming up.
How about the Pirates? The first team in over 100 years to lose their first 3 losses all on walk-offs.
Isn't that crazy?
And the last team to do it was the 1924 Pirates.
Perfect symmetry, yeah. That's painful. It's painful. You got all this anxiety and all this anticipation. Everybody's going to go 162-0. You're losing a walk off. You're like, that stunk. Go out the next night, walk off. Oh man, third night, walk off. Wow, that's a brutal open for them at home, no less. So, yeah.
Oh no, that was they were.
Was it on the road? They were on the road.
They were in
Okay.
Miami. Yeah.
Oh, okay. They were down in Miami, so they're
Can't
coming
get walked
up
off at home.
Gotcha. Oh yeah, you can't. You're right. They're coming up from Miami to Tampa. Then is that the swing?
Correct.
Okay, gotcha. Well, they're outside, more outside baseball now. Miami, of course, has the retractable roof. So, yeah, the Pirates and the Rays, and the Rays got a lot of home games to start this season because the weather is good. Even though there was a little bit of rain, it didn't get the Rays game. But man, I got some rain to start, and I was like, wait, what is this? It's getting a summer pattern already. It's only the beginning of April, so coming up here in just a few days. So keep it right here. Go see our friends at Breitling Boutique International Plaza Mall. Check out the corner mat watches, the beautiful Navitimers, the women's watches as well, special NFL 104th year anniversary watches. They've got it all for you. It's middle of International Plaza Mall, upstairs, second floor. Breitling Boutique. Make sure you let them know that you heard about it on Sports Day Tampa Bay. Thanks for listening. For Steve Versnick, I'm Rick Stroud of the Tampa Bay Times. Have a great day, everybody.